Our Kaki Tree is planted on the campus of the Hockaday School in Dallas, Texas, in the United States. My name is Dee Mays, and I am the former elementary art teacher. In June 1999, I was visiting the Venice Biennale. As I was passing by the Japanese pavilion, I heard children's voices and laughter. When I went inside, I found a large room with an amazing array of brightly colored origami hanging from the ceiling. Children of all ages were curled on the floor or sitting at tables, drawing pictures and doing all sorts of art projects. I stood there watching and listening to the joy, the creativity, the peaceful connection and communication. So many different languages were being spoken that I didn't really know what was being said, but I knew this was something very, very special. After a while, I realized many of the pictures were of a tiny tree in a small pot. I then discovered that there actually was a tiny tree in a small pot sitting on a pedestal in the middle of the room. There was written information explaining the Revive Time Kaki Tree Project and a form to fill out to request a kaki tree. The more I read, the more I was convinced that this would be a wonderful learning experience for my students. I researched kaki trees and found they are called persimmon trees in English, and that they grow actually quite well in Dallas. Our school is an all-girls school. It starts with preschool and goes all the way up through 12th grade. We have mostly day students, but we also have boarding students, many of whom are international students. Our school has a small pond near the elementary school building and the playground, and that is where we planted our kaki tree. Near the kaki tree, there is also a path that the students take to the lunchroom. They tell me they love seeing the kaki tree as they pass by each day. I like to share one of the many letters and poems our students have written about our kaki tree. It's called Peace Garden. When I walk past the playground coming from lunch, I always come into our garden. It is our peace garden. The only sounds you hear are the quack of the ducks and the leaves as they rustle in the breeze. It is so beautiful and peaceful. The feeling it gives me I cannot put in words. But I go into our peace garden every day and observe the beautiful, peaceful world around me. Soon I see others there too. When we are not in the peace garden, we are spreading the peace to everybody for a world full of peace. Peace will start with one person, and you must be willing to try. Every day I still go to our peace garden, and I still spread peace and smiles. That was written by Maddie C. when she was in 3rd grade. Our Kaki Tree story helped our students understand the devastation of war, the destruction and harm war causes, not only to the people and the places they live and work, but also to every living thing. Wars hurt and harm and destroy so many and so much. It is only when we have peace that we and all of the life on our dear, dear planet can live and can thrive. I teach my students that peace can happen, and that peace begins with each one of us. It begins with me on the inside and on the outside. It begins with how I feel about myself and how I feel about others. It's understanding that we all have the same needs and the same desires, that we all need understanding and respect, opportunity and help, kindness and love. Peace is like the circles that spread from the center out when we toss a pebble into the pond. Peace begins with me, and I pass it to my family and my friends, my neighbors and my classmates, my community and city, state and country, the environment, and to our entire planet and every living thing upon it. Peace is worth working for, and peace can happen. Our Kaki Tree's arrival led to many creative activities. Our halls and walls were filled with drawings and paintings, poems and notes about being an active peacemaker. Students especially enjoyed our origami projects with the Kaki Tree theme. We also had several student-led peace assemblies in which students wrote their own scripts. One of my favorite was the one in which the presenter showed a shortcut to peace, and it was simply a smile. But our best peace assembly was our Welcome Kaki Tree Assembly, which took place on March 30th, 2000. We were honored to have special guests, Mr. Ibanuma, tree surgeon, and Tatsuo Miyajima, artist. When Mr. Ibanuma presented the kaki tree to us, it was the first time we saw our tiny twig of a kaki tree. It looked so small and vulnerable, yet it spoke so clearly of the need to value peace and the treasure of life. The relationship between art and children in the Revive Time Kaki Tree Project is very important. The presence of the second generation kaki tree makes it easier for children to explore their feelings about war. Art consoles and heals us and helps us find our way in a very confusing world. Having art as part of the project definitely helps students find joy and hope for the future. As my young grandson says, art is magical. And so was the Welcome Kaki Tree quilt we made. Students wrote a small peace message on a green cloth leaf or a bright orange cloth kaki fruit. Displayed all together, they made a very large and beautiful quilt. We hung it in a prominent place for all to see. Here's what 2 students wrote on their quilt pieces. Kaki tree, I wish peace was round and had no end like your fruit. If only it was colored like your leaves. I wish the world was made of peace. Written by Jordan N., 3rd grade. The next one is, I think peace is about loving and caring, to love the environment, to love animals, to help people and our enemies as well, and to feel the wonders of life. And that one is by Linz W., 3rd grade. Our kaki tree is now 20 years old, and I have retired after 40 years of teaching. Its care now is in the capable hands of Randall Rodas, head of lower school. Randall is a former student of mine who knows all about the kaki tree and how special it is. Our students give it loving care, and our groundskeepers make sure it is thriving. What was once a tiny twig is now a well-established, vigorous adult tree. It blooms every year around Halloween, with bright orange fruit looking very much, as my students said, like tiny little pumpkins. I live near Hockaday, and I visit our kaki tree as often as I can. Periodically, I visit to tell our new students about the kaki tree so that its legacy of peace continues. Revive Time Kaki Tree Project is a very special and worthwhile project. When we first saw our kaki tree, it was love at first sight, and that tiny little twig of a tree opened all of our hearts, and peace poured out in so many thoughtful and wonderful ways. I'd like to read one last poem. It's called Peace Grows Like a Kaki Tree. I plant the seed of peace, water it, then it grows in my heart like a kaki tree. I tell you how good I felt when I planted the seed of peace, so you plant the seed of peace, water it, and it grows in your heart like a kaki tree. If we keep this cycle going, everyone will plant the seed of peace, water it, then it will grow in their hearts like a kaki tree. And that was written by Sarah, who was in 4th grade at the time. I'd also like to thank Mr. Ibanuma and Tatsuo Miyajima very much for your wonderful Revive Time Kaki Tree Project.